What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review here on YouTube's webchannel24.com. I am Rassslin Rantin, a 30-plus-year-old fan of pro wrestling and sports entertainment, and this is my countdown of the well, actually, it's not a countdown. I'm just listing the best pay-per-views and special events in pro wrestling for 2020. This was, like everything else with 2020, a very hard list to kind of come up with. I had to pick one for each company. Some runner-ups here and there. So I'm not going to do like a top 10 list of all companies because I don't want to hear the blah. But what I'm going to do is, again, like I said, is I'm going to look at the companies that I watched this year and pick out their best pay-per-views. Let's start off with AEW. AEW only has 4 pay-per-views or special events during the year, although you could count some of these Dynamites that they have had as special events. But sticking with the pay-per-views, Revolution, which happened back in February. Of course, their pay-per-views are every single at the start or beginning or end of every season. So they have 4 seasonal pay-per-views. Revolution, Double or Nothing, which was the first one that they had to deal with after the pandemic began, and then of course on to All Out and Full Gear back in November. So I think the year for them is kind of sandwiched by 2 really good pay-per-views, and in the middle, Double or Nothing and All Out were like everything else at that time period, especially for Double or Nothing. That was a little bit shaky, a little bit weird. Like, just everything I would say from springtime this year anyway is probably going to be tainted. All Out was probably, I would say, their worst pay-per-view that they've had since they've been in the company. It just felt like everything was off. Matt Hardy got injured in that one. With that bad fall that he had where his head smacked the concrete, and that was just very sick to watch. Some of the matches were just kind of sloppy. Some things ran too long. Just a lot of stuff didn't work on that show. But Revolution and Full Gear were absolutely fantastic shows, and not ironically enough, both of those 2 pay-per-views have 2 of AEW's best matches of the year on them. So overall, between all of them, I'm going to have to pick Revolution. I think Revolution as a whole for all the matches this year was a truly solid match. Though edge it gets over Full Gear is that, no disrespect to Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley's main event match, but I don't think that was the main event of the show. It should have been the Young Bucks versus FTR. And the Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley match felt a little like it should have been on earlier in the night. But outside of that, 2 really good, strong pay-per-views for them. But the best one of the year for AEW, in my opinion, is Revolution. WWE, I watched the majority of their pay-per-views this year. I did go back and before this and watch the ones that I hadn't watched when they happened. Boy, the quality is all over the place. Fortunately, one of the things that have happened because of the pandemic is that the wrestling shows are shorter now. We did not, even though WrestleMania was 2 nights and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, we did not have a very, very long SummerSlam or Survivor Series, or, we didn't have these 7-hour epic pay-per-views. So that definitely helped a lot of the shows. Some of them and some of the storylines, the Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt Fiend storyline was a little bit odd. The Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins storyline that went on all year had a lot of twists and turns, but felt a little too Jerry Springer-ish. Then again, you had other things in the year, like the ongoing saga between Bayley and Sasha Banks, which I'm probably going to be mentioned a lot of times during this year-end show. Roman Reigns' turn to being heel. Some of the stuff that the Hurt Business was doing. I think a lot of that stuff worked and kept the show... It kept the show intriguing. It wasn't... They got a little bit out of the cookie-cutter stuff here and there. They got a little bit more graphic this year with The Fiend being set on fire, Rey Mysterio getting his eye kayfabe poked out, and crazy stuff like that. But overall, I think the pay-per-views were concerned, WrestleMania was interesting, but I would have to say that as far as just a pay-per-view that I could watch all the way through and had a solid main event, Survivor Series for me. Survivor Series, the main event with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns was better than I thought it was going to be. The show itself had its ups and downs, but the ups, I think, outweighed the downs on that show. So for me, personally, this year in 2020, Survivor Series is my favorite WWE pay-per-view. But what about New Japan? We listen to you for New Japan. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yes, it is my favorite pro wrestling company. But New Japan this year, again, as I explained in one of my other videos, their year was kind of weird because they had about 2 or 3 months where they didn't even have shows. They had shut down completely because of the pandemic. You did have some solid shows in the middle. The Jingu Stadium show was a step in the right direction. The G1 was strange this year. This is the atmosphere because, I mean, we know it's 2020. Everything was strange this year. But they still managed to pull out some great stuff. But I think the G1 fell off by kind of a lackluster finals between Kota Ibushi and Sonata, which we were all expecting a lot more from. And it didn't quite hit that mark as the past several years of G1 Climax finals have. The Power Struggle show had a lot of shocks in there. But again, the recycled match between Tetsuya Naito and Evil had gotten really old at that point. They met in Dominion. They've met so many times. It's been enough. The New Japan Cup was actually pretty cool. It had some surprises in it. We had Hiromu Takahashi stepping up from junior heavyweight to challenge his former stablemate Evil for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the IC Championship. Kenta did good stuff. NJPW Strong came on this year. The Super J Cup was pretty good. The Best of the Super Juniors was pretty good. World Tag League, I actually watched it this year for a change. But I think hands down, I think most people agree with this. If you look back at 2020, and not just because that was before the pandemic, but because it's going to seem like most of these ones I'm picking are from because of the pandemic wasn't happening. But WrestleKingdom 14 this year, the 2-night WrestleKingdom, which a lot of us went into very skeptical, like, I don't know if it's going to work. 2 nights, is that too much? I get worn out by WWE's 8-hour pay-per-views, so I want to watch 2 nights of New Japan, 4 or 5 hours apiece, and it didn't seem to be that big of a deal. In fact, the event kind of blew by. I remember remarking, like, man, it's over already? It's like, it didn't feel like it. Well, and I think that's what comes with the intrigue in the show, and that they kind of paced out all of these little secrets, like Minoru Suzuki confronting Jon Moxley finally, something we didn't think we were going to get at all, and kicking that off. Kenta's attack at Naito at the end, Okada's entrance, Jushin Thunder Liger's retirement was one of the classiest things I saw this year. I think that show was both nights were very well paced, and you had just the right amount of action, comedy, drama, which you get from a New Japan show. It was very fulfilling and probably one of the best events of any company this year. But for New Japan, absolutely, WrestleKingdom 15 won out this year. NXT, I've seen all the takeovers now. I missed a couple during the year, and I'm going to include also the Great American Bash and the Halloween Havoc shows in this as well. I did not watch the Halloween Havoc show until earlier today. But I will say, yeah, I gotta go with the War Games. I think War Games, NXT has now kind of put their own stamp on the War Games match. And again, I'm old school. I remember the commercials for the very first War Games match back at the Great American Bash '87, because I was a kid at the time, but I had vivid memories of that match. It stuck with me forever, and it stuck with a lot of people from that era, including Triple H. And NXT, even though it's not quite the same thing, they have improved from what my criticisms were of it a couple years ago, which was you got 8 people in a ring and only 2 of them would work and then lie down, and then another 2 would work and lie down, and another 2 would work and lie down. And I think that some of the people in WWE, and particularly NXT and their creative, caught onto that too, and they shuffled around and did different things during the shows. I think the only issue now I have with the War Games matches now that it seems like everybody that goes into the War Games stops outside and picks up about 50 things from underneath the ring to take into a double cage match. It's a double cage. You don't need weapons. But that is a minor nitpick on overall excellent pay-per-view this year. The War Games pay-per-view in December this year, not in November. We also didn't have Starrcade this year, obviously, because of the Greensboro and the COVID, and you obviously can't do it there. But I think NXT didn't suffer so much from the COVID changes because they were used to shooting at Full Sail, so it wasn't as jarring as it was for the main roster to be filming at the Performance Center. And even when Thunderdome came around, NXT's like mini version of Thunderdome, even that is not as jarring as the main roster one. I think because the color palette is very limited, but restraint sometimes is a good thing, as NXT shows. So the new stars that they had coming up and some of the title matches this year, I enjoyed pretty much most of what I saw from NXT. There was that period in the summertime where their summer takeovers I was not as impressed with, because I think I had fallen out of what all the storylines were and who is this person and why is this person here. But a close runner-up, however, was the prior takeover where Adam Cole and McAfee had their epic match, which surprised the hell out of the entire industry. Probably should have got more play if it wasn't during a pandemic year, but that was probably one of the best pieces of in-ring storytelling I've seen from a person who's a rookie in the business, in McAfee. And Adam Cole deserves a lot of credit too, because obviously he's calling those matches. So absolutely fantastic stuff there. And that was almost my favorite NXT show, but I will stick with the TakeOver War Games once again this year for NXT. So those are my picks for the best big events and pay-per-views of 2020 in pro wrestling and sports entertainment. Of course, I obviously did not watch all the companies this year, and I missed out on a lot of stuff. So if you have a company that you like, any particular show that you like from them, I know Triple Mania was a big one on the list. I didn't get to watch it before I did this video this week because it's the end of the year, but I was going to try to watch Triple Mania, so that might be on the list. That might have been on my list if I had gotten a chance to see it before now. So put that down below. If there's some other shows from other promotions that you liked, put them down in the comment box below and give me your list of, for each company, what was the best pay-per-view or big event from your favorite pro wrestling organization. Until then, if you like this video, as you always know, it is YouTube. So pile drive. Just drop a cage on the like button and put it in its own little war games against the dislike button. More likes than dislikes. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and definitely stay tuned for more videos coming up. This is the end of the year, the last week of the year, so I'm going to be doing all of my end of the year videos here on Rant and Review, and we will be starting some other videos of reviewing other topics outside of pro wrestling and sports entertainment on this channel. Of course, I do have some affiliate links available for you, some pretty cool stuff. I've gotten a lot of extra bonuses and bounties from a couple of people, from a couple companies right now. And one of them is Amazon. So you can get a 30-day free trial of the Amazon audiobooks of Audible. The link is down in the description box below. You can take that 30-day subscription and go check out the Young Bucks' new book if it's on audiobook. Chris Charlton had the Eggshells book. There's tons of pro wrestling books that if you're not a big reader, then the audiobook version might be good for you. So again, 30-day free trial with the link down below in the description for your free 30 days of Audible. Until then, I will see you guys for more news, rumors, and commentary right here on Rant and Review. Have a good day.